In this climax to the Way and the Word series, grade 12, or for whoever is interested, we will delve into the big question of, well, we are in the 21st century. What is the relevance of the Bible to our world today? Why should we bother with it at all? All right, the first thing we need to look at is this. Even though we are in the new century and life is very different today, there is still the search for meaning that has been part of human life all through the generations. But we are coming at it through postmodern realities. This is a philosophical paradigm which basically looks at the universe in a more relative manner and sees the inclusiveness of all concepts and ideas. It shies away from the idea of an absolute, whether an absolute God or an absolute understanding of religion, and sees itself in a more personalized, customized way of approaching. We also live at a time when every aspect of life is impacted upon by science. Science has become the governor of life, if you like. Everything we do, even the way we plan lessons for classes, including Bible classes, follow some kind of scientific idea. And every gadget, every machine, and we are a world of gadgets and machines, we're all dealing with the impact of science. And of course, the obvious part of that science is what we call technology. And this generation, 21st century, is all about technology. And the pandemic has revealed that without that technology, life would have ground to a halt. And yet here we are studying, we are learning, we are doing all kinds of things because there is technology. But we also see a sad part to the 21st century. The rise, the increase of religious fundamentalism in Islam, in Hinduism, to some extent in Buddhism, in Christianity. It's almost as if every religion across the board is leaning in that direction. While in philosophy and the sciences, we're leaning towards relativism. In religion, people are tending to lean towards fundamentalism. Perhaps it's a clash of worlds that will always exist, but it is greater today than it has ever been. And the question for us is, where do we go from here? How do we find meaning in this cacophony of ideas when there are so many different sounds? Those who are crying for an absolute view of God and those who are crying for a completely personalized view of reality. Science, religion, Bible, evolution, and all of these issues. How do we find meaning? Where do we go to? That is the question that we will consider in this final part of the series. Now, to find that meaning, we need to start at the beginning, and that is to raise questions of origins. Who are we? What are we? You know, the basic scientific paradigm view says that humans are just an advanced version of ape. We live in a world of versions, a world of improved models. And so iPhone 8, iPhone 11, iPhone 12, and so on and so forth. Galaxy S5, Galaxy S8, Galaxy S20, everything about our world, whether it's cars or television sets, mobile phones or tablets and computers, even rice cookers. It's always about what is the newest version, what is the latest version. And the science view basically would say that human is ape version X, that we are the best version of the created order or of the natural order. So we're just an advanced ape or an advanced monkey. On the other hand, you have religions like Christianity, Islam, and Judaism who say that there is special creation, that humans were made by the gods. And the Bible says that God created the universe, created humans. But those two ideas are not really compatible. Are we an advanced version of ape, or are we a special creation? Another question about origins is this, and the science world is spending so much money, nations of the world are spending so much money trying to answer this question. Are we alone in the universe. Many years ago, I watched a series of movies, Home Alone. And sometimes we feel like we are the only ones in the universe. The universe is empty, devoid of life. Well, more and more we are looking at the possibility that there is life. And so we're spending money to send space probes to distant parts of the universe, hopefully to find some evidence of life on Mars and Jupiter and beyond. Because we cannot bear the idea that we are alone. Whether we are created or we are evolutionary products, the idea of being alone affects the understanding of who we are. Which leads us to the question, where do we come from? From some big bang, or rather a micro bang in space, some 13.7 billion years ago, or from the hand of a wise, intelligent, and loving God? And that is a difficult question, because the spectrum is very broad. The choices are very dichotomized. You cannot really have both. But we do have to make a decision. We do have to decide what are the questions of origins that matter the most to me, that makes the most sense to me, and how this affects my search for meaning. Perhaps the main way of trying to answer this question of origin and search for meaning is what we call the scientific approach. This is taken for granted in our world today. I encounter this, run into this every single day in the classroom, in my Bible classroom. The scientific approach basically is based on certain paradigms. One of those paradigms, created by John Locke, is called the empirical methodology, and that is, you must have empirical proof, which can be tested over and over. Only then can you say it's true. Only then can you say it's real. Then we also have rationalist philosophy introduced into the Enlightenment by René Descartes. And he says that it is our thoughts, it is human reason. I think, therefore I am kind of statement. We are what we think about. So human reason is the final authority. And around the same time as empiricism and rationalism came the world of psychology, popularized by Christian Wolff. And psychology basically says that we can discover the inner workings of the human being, his personality, his character, his soul, his being, and we can use medical techniques, scientific techniques, to deal with the questions and the issues of life that people have to face with. And so these are the paradigms. There's only one being added into our world today, and that is brain research. They're putting electrodes all over our brains to discover which part controls what emotion and what activity, and how, if we can control that particular part of the brain, we can control everything from weight loss to falling in love to being smarter and better at school. Makes you wonder. Now, I am a great admirer of brain research. I think it has helped me to understand a lot of things about my students. But there is also this branch of science called archaeology, which looks at the past in a scientific way to understand how it impacts the present. And this perhaps is the one that influences the Bible the most. So these are all scientific methodologies, even if applied to biblical topics, because we live in a world of science. Science has all of the answers, until, of course, you meet COVID-19 and discovered that science maybe doesn't have all the answers, that maybe we need help somewhere else as well. But that is a major approach to questions of origins, to questions of meaning. In our world today, when we think of the scientific approach, really we are talking about different theories of evolution. And this is taken for granted that people will just say everything is based on evolution. But you see, when you're talking about evolution, you're actually talking about different options. For example, the option of origin, which today is believed to be the Big Bang that caused all life as we know it, all existence as we know it, to appear in the universe. Then there is the option of time. In evolutionary paradigms, time is seen as something hugely extended. It goes over eons and eons and eons. So we no more speak in terms of thousands or tens of thousands, but of millions and billions of years. Whether you're talking about human history, bone fossils, dinosaurs, or the Big Bang, it's always in the millions or the tens of millions or the hundreds of millions or the billions of years. There's another principle to this science approach, this evolutionary paradigm of life, and that is chance. Everything happens more or less by its own, without any external stimuli or control. That's what we call chance. This is not the same thing as chance in gambling, but in the manner of speaking, it is like that. It just sort of happens. It takes place by itself. Chance directs what we see. But when you're dealing with evolution and science, you have to be able to decipher what is theory, what is fiction, and what is truth. You know that fiction is an out-and-out untruth, but which may be based on sound ideas. Theory is a sound scientific idea, but not yet proven. Truth is the term that religious people, particularly Christians, like to use. When we say that there was a Big Bang X number of years ago, is that a theory? Is it a fiction? Or is it truth? The fact that the world of science itself still calls it the Big Bang Theory tells us that we must be a little bit cautious of seeing Big Bang as truth. And yet, here is the predicament. Because it is taught in every science class, everywhere in the world, in every single classroom, most students today think that the Big Bang Theory is truth. And therein lies the challenge for trying to understand origins and meaning of life. Now the question is, does all of this matter? Some of you may say, no, it doesn't, because I've already chosen one paradigm. And if you do that, then of course that's true. But if you haven't fixed your mind on one paradigm and you're still looking for possibilities, then my suggestion is that it does matter. Do you want to believe that there was a Big Bang, caused all existence to come into reality, or that God made everything? That does matter. At the opposite end of the evolutionary and scientific approach is the Bible idea of creation. The Bible hangs upon this one concept that everything is created. The animals are created, the stars are created, humans are created. That the number one quality or attribute of God is creatorship. And this is important. Not only is it an important idea, it's actually the foundation idea of the Bible, what philosophers call foundational concept, that every other teaching of the Bible sits like the foundation of a house. Everything else sits on that foundation. When you talk about history, when you talk about God's sovereignty and concepts of time, about salvation and redemption, about faith, about grace, all of those other concepts sit on that foundation that God is the creator, and therefore all the other things work. If you've ever been involved in house building, which some of you may have and some of you may not have, you will know that you cannot build a house unless you put a firm foundation. We don't really see the foundation, but that foundation is what keeps the house upright. The walls, the windows, the decorations, the roofs, the ceilings, those are the things we see, the light fixtures and the gadgets. That's what we see. Most of us don't see the foundation. It is even tiled over so nicely we only see the floor. But here's the thing. The deeper, the stronger the foundation, the more lasting the house will be. The house where I was born in was built on solid rock, and so it has stood around for quite a long time. And then the Bible proceeds to this idea. In the Old Testament, Yahweh is the creator. In the New Testament, Jesus, who is the Yahweh of the New Testament, is the creator. In other words, God is the creator. Things did not come about because of some big bang. Things did not come about because something blew up in the universe. We were not some monkey who suddenly decided one day I'm going to walk, and therefore you have a Homo sapien and then a human being. No. We were made the way we are by this Creator. Inevitable conclusion, either you take it or you leave it. You see, the Bible concept of creation is a non-negotiable concept. It is not something you can say, okay, a little bit of Bible, maybe there was some creation, a little bit of evolution, maybe some of that is needed. Since this one deals with process, this one deals with origin, the Bible says no, it's an all or nothing package. It's like one of those offers that they have at supermarkets. Buy 3, get 1 free. You will not get the 1 free if you don't buy the 3. This is the Bible idea of creation. God is the creator. We are created. Everything we see that's real is created. The importance of this creation idea is so significant in the Bible that the very first narrative in the Bible is the creation narrative. We learn a number of things when we look at that creation narrative. First of all, who is the one who created? In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. So we know the creator is God. We also know how humans were made. The male human, God formed of the soil, breathed life into him, became a living human being. The woman was created from a portion of his side, and God made a human being. Okay. The more important question is, why did God make these humans to begin with? Not just as another step on the natural order of life. Because the story says that God decided to create humans who were in his image, who not so much looked like him, but carried some of his special powers of creativity and thought and will. And so Adam and Eve, the first creation, were not only the climax to the days of creation. How each day different things were created, but on the final day, the 6th day, the last creation is human. Only then did God rest, or Shabbat as we know it. You see, so that is important. But what is also important in that creation narrative is that the man and the woman were created to be different right from the start. Think of them like 2 parts of a whole. They have to be different, but they complement each other. And only when the 2 parts are fit together, then you have the complete whole. This has been one of the greatest cause of problems in marriages, in love affairs, in relationships, because men and women are different. They will always be different. God created us to be different, not just physiologically, but in every other possible way. However, both of them are in the image of God. God's image is seen in both Adam and Eve, in both male and female. We are God's image, but a problem did arise. And so we have to consider that into the picture as well. It would change the search for meaning, the search for understanding, the search to know who we are. Because yes, we are in the image of God, but something else happened to us. That power to think and choose would lead humans on the wrong track. And so we have to contend with that in understanding who we are. That's the big question. Who are we? Well, we are the image of God, but there is a problem, a predicament with humans. All right, so we have evolution and science on the one side, the Bible and religion on the other side. And these 2 parts, ever since they first met each other, have diverged. And as the years have gone by, the divergence has gone further and further and further apart. To the point that some people say, we can never reconcile these 2 things. So for day-to-day life, I believe in science. For church, I believe in the Bible. This is the most incredulous decision that many church-going people seem to have taken, that somehow we can live in both worlds. But are they 2 irreconcilable views? Or, as some people have suggested, are they 2 views, but really still dealing with the same truth? The truth is the universe, our existence. We are here. We are humans. But how to understand that? How to see that? Now, we need to clear our minds, because science is more concerned with the process of things. Whereas the Bible is more concerned with the start and the origin of things. So the perspectives are clearly different. The Bible doesn't really go into the process of how the human body works and what causes a thunderstorm or any of those things. Science does. But the Bible is very clear about the origins. Everything was created by God, that thunderstorm as well as the human body. And so we have to look at this from two different perspectives, that maybe they are not as irreconcilable as we think. It is the theories that we have built around these two things that make it impossible to bring them together, that make them seem to clash. But maybe they are still fighting with the same truth. Both of them, science on the one hand and Bible and religion on the other hand, bring different aspects to the search. Remember, we are searching for meaning. I believe that science brings the need for objectivity. Not everything is subjective. Not everything is, it's because that's the way I like it. No, that there has to be something objective. Truth has to be empirical in a sense. We should be able to say this is truth, and it should always be truth wherever it is. The Bible, on the other hand, brings faith, because whether you believe in the Big Bang or special creation, nobody was there to witness either event. So when you say that there was a Big Bang, it's actually a statement of faith. It's not an objective statement. So the Bible teaches us that faith in God may be a better option to understand the search for meaning. And so science helps us to be more objective. The Bible helps us to have faith, to produce faith. And when you put those two things together, then you have a better approach to the question. It's more rational, but it is also more faith-based. At the end of the day, as you search for meaning and you see these two very apparently irreconcilable options, science on the one hand, Bible and religion on the other, you have to first recognize the implications of both. And you've probably seen enough to realize that if you follow science, the immediate implication is that God is sidelined. Science doesn't necessarily say there is no God. Basically, it says we don't really need God. Since we can understand and explain everything, why do we need a creator? We just need to discover the process. And that implication means that the instructions of the Bible are not important. We can decide our own. We can make our own rules, our own laws. Why bother with some ancient rules in the Bible? On the other hand, if you follow what the Bible says and you believe that there is a special creation and we are part of it, that brings its own implications. Implications of faith, implications of worship, implications of saying that God holds the universe in place, but there are still mysteries that we cannot fully explain, so I cannot fully understand. And yet, I can be at peace when tragedy and difficulties come, because there is a God, and maybe He is working things out. Maybe a solution will come. So what we are left with are choices. There are consequences to every choice. If you choose science, you may end up never believing in God, seeing the world as nothing more than a cycle of events. Whereas if you believe in God, if you accept the Bible, you may end up with the idea that you don't have full control of life, but there is a higher being who does, and you can trust that everything will work out in the end and live with a bit more peace, not seeing yourself as a mouse inside a cycle that goes round and round and round. The Bible makes promises that God is with us, that He takes care of us, He provides for us. We don't have to go it alone. And so at the end of the day, as you search for meaning and you want to know, who am I? Where did I really come from? You also have to make that choice. Should I go entirely with the paradigm of science, or should I go entirely with the paradigm of the Bible? Can I use a little bit of science even though I believe mostly the Bible? And can I use a little bit of the Bible even though I believe mostly science? You have to make those choices. No one can make them for you. See, this is the beautiful part about being human. Whether you think of yourself as an advanced ape species or a special creation of a divine being, you have to make the choice.